Page 8. The Talmud, Rambam, and Shulchan Aruch provided a general framework for the acceptance of converts, but did not give a detailed list of guidelines. These classic halakhic sources recognized that each conversion case is unique, and each must be evaluated by those overseeing the conversions. In the Talmud's words, each judge must take responsibility for the cases that come before him, based on his own evaluation. Now, this is with regards to converting the person, not what he does afterwards. He's not responsible for anything that the convert does after he converts. Classic Halacha gave uniform standards in the area of conversion, leaving it up to the individuals in charge to use their own judgment in dealing with each would-be convert. The Talmud, Rambam, and Shulchan Aruch 1. Do not demand nor expect a candidate for conversion to learn all the mitzvot prior to conversion. 2. Do not demand nor expect a candidate for conversion to promise to observe all the mitzvot in specific detail. 3. They do not demand an extended period of study before conversion. 4. They do not equate conversion with a total acceptance to observe Torah and mitzvot, but rather see conversion as a way for a non-Jew to become a member of the Jewish people. 5. They do recognize the validity of conversions even when the convert came with ulterior motives, even when the convert was ignorant of basic laws of Judaism. 6. They do not allow for the retroactive annulment of a conversion, even when the convert continued to worship idols after converting to Judaism. And we'll see specific examples of this when we get to the laws. Since the classic halakhic sources allow so much leeway in the acceptance of converts, why have important 19th and 20th century halakhic authorities adopted stringent positions that are so antithetical to these sources? And notice we're talking about 19th and 20th century, so this is the last 150 years or so of our more than 3,000 year history. Indeed, why has the stringent view become so prevalent within Orthodoxy? Well, one possible answer has already been suggested. The Orthodox rabbinate has been vastly influenced by the rise of Reform and Conservative Judaism, and by the increasing number of Jews who have defected from the halakhic way of life. And here we see they're making a distinction between the Orthodox Jews and Reform and Conservative Jews based on observance. In seeing Orthodoxy as a bastion of Torah true Judaism, Orthodox sages have insisted on policy that clearly distinguish between us being Orthodox and them being non-Orthodox. But again, this is referring to the difference between one type of Jew and another type of Jew. We, fingers in quotation marks, are the ones who demand scrupulous observance of Halacha, being Orthodox. They are the ones who have betrayed Torah tradition by undermining mitzvah observance. This attitude carries into the acceptance of converts. We only want converts who will be, like us, truly dedicated to Torah and mitzvot. We don't want to create more non-observant Jews in our communities. So the response to this is, well, if you don't want to convert the person, I guess nobody's requiring you to convert them. The problem is when somebody else converts them, how do you not recognize the conversion? As we've discussed, there is no way to annul a halakhic conversion. So another possible answer, and this one I think is more the real reason that we see what's happening today. So another possible answer is that some, or we could say most, in the Orthodox community have a mystical view of Jewishness that deems it quite difficult for a non-Jew to become Jewish. Also, very recent invention. Rabbi Abraham Isaac Cook, for example, believed that the act of conversion requires the convert to join the soul of Knesset Yisrael, a metaphysical representation of the congregation of Israel. This can be accomplished only through a total acceptance of the mitzvot. Since mitzvot are the essence of a Jewish soul, this is not an easy transition. According to Rabbi Kook, since Jewish souls and non-Jewish souls are ontologically different, for a non-Jew to transform his soul into a Jewish soul requires a tremendous connection to Torah and mitzvot. So, who is this person to say who can identify what's a Jewish soul and what's a non-Jewish soul? This is a modern Kabbalistic notion anyway. So I've heard that, well, if you convert, then that means you always had a Jewish soul. But then I've also heard when you come out of the mikvah, you get a Jewish soul, meaning you started off with a non-Jewish soul. So then when you ask about this contradiction, you'll hear answers like, well, you always had a Jewish soul, but when he came out of the mikvah, it wasn't a new soul. It's just like an upgrade. They downloaded the latest version of the Jewish soul. So this is the types of things that you may hear. Without belaboring the point, Rabbi Kook's line of thinking can be used to create feelings of Jewish superiority as well as latent xenophobic tendencies. And I think this is more the reason for the gatekeeping that we see. Yet, when all is said and done, the Talmud, Rambam, Shulchan Aruch, and a host of great halakhic authorities do not espouse the stringent, restrictive views relating to conversion. How do proponents of the currently dominant views justify veering from the classic halakhic texts? One approach has been to cite the 19th and 20th century halakhic authorities who insist on the stringent, restrictive views relating to the acceptance of converts. Since these Gedolim have issued such rulings, we are obligated to follow them. If they veered from or reinterpreted the primary halakhic sources, they had good grounds for doing so. Why? Because they had a beard and a black hat? I mean, everybody who does something wrong has a reason why they're doing it. I mean, people that rob banks give ridiculous reasons. Well, they're insured, it just reduces their profits, so they'll get a tax break. Everybody out there in accounting knows that's not the case, but I mean, these people justify doing things that are wrong. This is no different. This approach does not attempt to see those stringent rulings in historical context as the reaction to anti-halakhic tendencies in the Jewish community. It does not consider whether those 19th and early 20th century responses are appropriate for our current situation. Moreover, it chooses not to accept the more inclusive and compassionate views of other great modern halakhists who dissented from the stringent views in various ways. Indeed, the more tolerant opinions are far more in line with classic halakhic sources than are the restrictive views espoused by various 19th and 20th century rabbis. And this is the problem, is that unfortunately, nobody asks for these sources. They can't even tell you. They're out there constantly saying, we don't proselytize, we have to turn people away, we have to make it difficult for them, a minimum of 3 times. Nowhere in Halacha is this cited. And when you try and discuss this with them, they state it so confidently as if this is the law. But when you ask them for a source, they can't give you one because it doesn't exist. So then when you give them a whole list of sources, including Halacha that says we are supposed to be, accepting the converts, we don't go by that. Because they instead choose to go by some non-existent halacha that they can't name. Anyway, we're on to page 9, so we'll pick that up in the next video.